Now, here on CMA Networks, we spend a lot of time talking about speakers, subwoofers, amplifiers, and definitely everything else in the 12-volt electronics category. But when it comes to accessories, there is one category that makes a huge difference, and that is, of course, the sound damping category. Today, we're talking about Soundshield, an innovative creator of products that all installers need, and we're going to break down some of the new products and some of the big benefits that come along with it. We've got their owner, John Schwartz, joining us for a full breakdown of everything Soundshield. This is CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM, all about Soundshield. And it starts now. What's going on, guys, and welcome to another episode of CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu, and today we're talking about sound damping and more specifically, Soundshield, the very recognizable brand within this space that so many installers count on to finish their installations. Of course, we've got our special guest, John Schwartz, joining us. John, welcome to Connected. What are we going to be talking about in today's conversation?
Hey, Ben. Thanks for having me on, man. I'm excited to be here. Love talking about this stuff with you. So today we're going to talk about, we have our bass product that we showed. Bam. This is our new bass product here. We're going to talk a little bit about our premium stuff. Oops. This is just a small chunk of our material of SSD and also massive. And we have our contour products, which I'm going to show you guys today, which is our speaker strips, which is super cool. And then one of my favorite kind of low-key products is called Rapid. This is our sound deadening tape that's really cool, and we're going to show you about that stuff today too. So anyway, excited to talk to you about all this stuff and show you, what we got in the pipeline.
Well, I appreciate that you came fully equipped, and I'm sure our audience does too. But first, an opportunity for our partner SiriusXM to remind everybody why it's always an important attachment sale. And when we come back, let's get into Soundshield with John Schwartz. We'll see you after the break.
Hey, Paul here with SiriusXM, and I'd like to talk to you about attachment selling and why the SiriusXM product is one of the best things to add, especially since we don't trade dollars with any other category. I could go through all of this, but let's hear what some of our dealers have to say.
It's an easy add-on that takes, 10, 15 minutes if we're running an antenna, 1 minute if we've got an adapter to plug it into the factory SiriusXM antenna, and it's extra money, so no brainer.
I present it to every customer because a lot of customers don't know what all they can do with Sirius. They don't know what all content they could have. It just makes too much sense not to sell it.
It creates a different customer loyalty and customer security when you explain to them why it's a better experience. Just gets them back in the door. And then the next car, they're already asking for it again. So it just keeps selling itself. It makes more sense.
Well, there you have it. You heard from our dealers. Just remember some of the best practices. Make sure you have one on display so you can demo it. Make sure you're taking advantage of our rewards program, because if you're not taking advantage of that, you're leaving even more money on the table. Make sure you got our POP up on display. And other than that, just make sure you're recommending it.
And welcome back, everybody, and welcome to our good guest, John. John, thank you for coming on with us today. Now, when it comes to sound dampening, there's a lot of mystery around it. I feel like there's still a lot of people that don't quite grasp it. Everybody looks at it like, oh, do I need it? Is it important? Is it, should I bother sneaking this into the sale? Let's just talk about how important this, element of the complete system really is, just to remind folks how important sound dampening is really to a sound system.
Yeah, no, you're right, definitely. And traveling all over the place and meeting a lot of different retailers and stuff. Yeah, a lot of them, I feel like I hate to say they're kind of scared to sell it maybe sometimes, because they have to explain it. But the funny thing is the guys that get it really get it. And if you think about it and kind of get your mindset out of it's just for audio, man, it's such a bigger dynamic to look at. Almost every day we're installing some type of Bluetooth deck or some type of integration. A lot of guys are getting into DSP now. You're doing all of these different things. But then there's a lot of people that are just driving. I mean, a lot of people have an hour commute one way. And you think when you get in this vehicle, it's like you're on your Bluetooth, you're screaming at this microphone, or you got somebody with you got the kids in the back, and then you end up, just talking louder, and you're not sure why. And then all of a sudden, at the end of the day, man, you're just shot. Your throat's tired, your brain's tired, and all because of all this excess noise and different things. So sound treatment, when, for a great example, when people come into my shop and they say, hey, man, my speakers sound terrible. I want to get some new speakers. Most guys are going to walk to the speaker wall, right? But we walk to the sound treatment wall and say, hey, before we get you new speakers, let's change the environment. Because I can put some new speakers in, but if we keep the same environment, they're not going to sound any better. You're not going to be happy, and then I'm not doing my job. So when we can kind of get them to understand that, now the client goes out to the vehicle and they close the doors and they notice something different. Wow, this sounds more solid. It's more together. They drive down the street. It's not so loud, right? Then they turn on the speakers that they already had and they sound better because the environment changed. So what happened for your client and what happened with you is two things happen. A, you are getting instant gratification out of the client, but then B, the most important is you're getting trust. So basically now the customer is like, man, this guy didn't lie to me. He didn't just try to get my money, and the car sounds better for everything. So I tell people a lot of times, don't just think of sound treatment as just for getting rid of vibration for a bass head or something like that, right? That's what we grew up on. But now, it's used for so many different things and so many different categories. And some of the biggest jobs that we've done haven't had any audio done to them. They literally just want to get the car quieter. So that's a huge, potential for business in there. Sprinters, these ProMasters are getting completely outfitted that people are living in. Man, they're unbelievably loud until sound treat the whole thing.
Well, I gotta say, there's two things I want to touch on what you said. Number
Mm.
one, it does take a little bit of knowledge to be able to educate your customer on what the benefits are. And you're right, this is a benefit. The moment you install it and experience it, you hear it right away. You experience
Mhm.
the difference. But more so than that, look at a lot of these newer vehicles. All these manufacturers are trying to, lower their emissions. And by lowering their emissions, they're lightening the vehicles, even
Oh.
down to the wires. But even in sound damping, am I correct on that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we get like right now the new, for example, like new Tundras, new Forerunners are coming in. And we love Toyotas. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're built terrific, awesome vehicles. But when you take that door panel off, and they got some of the biggest doors. I mean, you're talking this thing is massive, and then you have this tiny one little chunk in the middle of the door. So they must have had some vibration point there. But then, think about it, you're just spending, $80,000-$100,000 on these trucks now. Or then, go the other way. Look at like Teslas, for example, they got to get them light, different things like that. So you look at like a Model 3 or any of these things, there's zero sound damping in this thing because they have to get maximum efficiency out of the battery and, range and things like that. So, you spend a lot of time in this vehicle. And I mean, it's pretty amazing how overlooked that is. And people don't understand it, but they're like, well, I bought this vehicle for economy or I bought this for that. But I think it's something that's a great upgrade for yourself that, it's a great value like we had talked about before, but then it just changes the whole tone of the vehicle. You don't need to feel like you're in an economy car, even though you have an economy car, because you can do this upgrade and it makes a difference even if you do it chunk by chunk. You can do the doors first and then come back to the back doors and then do the
It's a little
floor.
addictive, though. I'm not gonna lie to you, because you're gonna see the
Oh,
benefit on just the doors. The next thing you know, you're gonna want the entire roof line. You're gonna want the floors, and
oh
suddenly you're
yeah.
in a really comfortable, quiet environment. All right,
Yeah.
we've got a lot of products to cover on today's show, guys.
Mhm.
Look, SoundShield is a complete destination when it comes to all things sound treatment. We're going to break down 4 different products for you guys today, starting with a newer product that you recently came up with, John. Maybe some
Mhm.
people tuning in might not have heard about it yet, and it's called Bass. I know you have a sample there, but give us a quick rundown of what Bass is about and what it's for.
Sure. So yeah, Base is our new product. We used to have another product called Slim, and it was kind of a similar type of thing. But a lot of our retailers that we work with and different partners, they wanted something, you know, similar to other things out there. But so basically, we created Base. So Base is our new product. Comes in these nice sheets, are 12-inch by 20. We did our different logo on there. It's like a black foil, which is pretty cool. So this is a nice, beautiful foil product. It comes in a nice big box, a bulk kit. It's 58 square feet in a box. Um, it's just a nice, great product for the foundational type of thing. If you're just wanting to get in, dampen some panels, it's super sticky. It's going to conform to curves really nice, easy to cut, looks great. And the nice thing about it is you can also, if you're just trying to dampen more, you can lay this material down and then you can also put our premium material right on top of it. It'll stick right to it. And that'll give you kind of everything. You'll get double butyl, you'll get the close cell acoustic foam, and a lot of noise rejection, which is great. So and it's nice. But it's been getting really good feedback, and a lot of guys really like it. The pricing is really. I think we can beat anybody's price out there and give you, really good quality product with it.
So I get it. This new baseline really is kind of like foundational stuff. It's basically, I don't want to call it entry level, but this is where you start, right? You have a customer that might have a limited budget, or you have limited space. This could be a good option for you. Now, you mentioned in your description SSD or massive is also a bigger version of that. Let's step up now. Let's go from base to that next material and explain to us what the benefits are.
Sure. So basically, with when we go to our all-in-one material, this is something you guys are all familiar with here. So this is much thicker. Your 4.5 mil, which is nice. So this is our all-in-one. So it's a butyl foil and a closed cell acoustic foam. So it's important to use closed cell because that means it's waterproof and it's not going to absorb anything. Obviously, being in a vehicle, the environment's tough. Now the nice thing is we have a really good pressure sensitive adhesive, great butyl, great foam. It's tougher, than a lot of stuff out there. And like I said, a lot of guys will lay down base, and that's going to give you, like, let's say you got a big cab, something like that, and you just need a little extra. So lay down the base down, and then you come back over, and then you can lay SSD right over top of it. SSD comes in our notorious rolls now that look like a big battery, which is cool. So in those ones, you get 11 square feet. It's 20 inches by 79 inches. And then if you need more, we have massive, which is our big shop roll, and that's going to get you 30 inches by 236. So that gets you about 49 and a half square feet. A lot of guys end up liking massive because they use it A as a shop roll, but B, if you're doing like new Tundras, new Dodge Rams, anything kind of bigger, this is going to cover a huge area in one shot. You don't have to worry about doing any kind of seams, anything like that. And it's just a really great product. It molds really nice, super sticky. And you'll notice definitely a huge drop in dB in your cab. We've definitely done a lot of tests on different vehicles, and in a lot of cases, you're getting like a 3 to 6 dB drop. And as you know, like anytime you drop any 3 dB, that's twice as quiet than what you started with. So that's a pretty big deal right there.
Now, earlier, John, I mentioned that Soundshield really is a one-stop shop when it comes to sound treatment. We talked about some big materials, like big coverage, right, in the base, and then, of course, now the SSD, and, of course, the massive shop roll. But you mentioned something, a keyword, seams. Do you have a solution for those tight corners or those little things that you want to get into that make sure you have full coverage?
Absolutely, man. So this product here, this is one of my favorite products. This is called Rapid. So Rapid is super cool. And this was a kind of a joint idea from a couple different people. So what we did is we took our closed cell acoustic foam and we basically cut it into 2 inches by 15-foot rolls and then added a really strong adhesive to it. So this stuff is great. So if you're using like this product and you do have a seam, you can use it as seam tape, which is really nice. But there's 100 different uses for it. For example, in car audio and things like that, when we let's say you're doing a head unit install, right? And a lot of these head units nowadays, they are using a lot of modules. So let's say you're stuffing everything behind the dash and you just can't seem to get rid of some rattle. Us old school guys, we would take some carpet and some wire ties or some electrical tape and do something. But now what you can do is you can take Rapid and you can put it on the corner of the head unit and put it on the module, and then now it's foam against foam, so you won't get any rattle. So also Rapid's great for when you're running all your harnesses in the vehicle and everything. You can also use it as harness tape to hold down the harnesses because it'll stick to Soundshield, the SSD, or any of the stuff. Like underneath the dash for remote start, same type of thing. If you ever put the brain up and you got wire tie, and you're holding the thing, but it's still got a little buzz, put some Rapid on it, man. It'll work great. So this is something that's a really great shop part. Normally you probably wouldn't sell it to one of your clients, but as an installer, man, guys that are fiberglassing or doing different things, it's great if you have like tweeter pods that are kind of buzzing a little bit or something behind a door panel. And the other stuff is just too thick. It's great to use Rapid in there because it'll just slide right in. It's super sticky, super soft, and it just does a great job as a gasket.
All right, John. So just in summary, we talked about the new base material. We talked about SSD and massive, two different formats, same premium material. I love the little Rapid idea because that just fits into all. It's like a little Band-Aid strip for everything that, rattle. That's the rattle killer right there. The last product we're going to talk about is completely different from those because this was actually built with a specific purpose in mind. And this has a lot to do with speakers. So what can you tell us about the Soundshield Contour material?
So Contour is a really fun product, man. This is here's the box for here. Okay, so Contour is pretty cool. It comes in a couple different things. So basically, the first part you're going to see when you open up the box is going to be like this wavy foam. Now, the idea with this, there's always a theory of this and that, but we just have fun with it anyway. So after you would do the door in the vehicle, so let's just assume this is the door, and then you mount your speaker, right? So this is going to go behind the driver. So this will stick to the door, and then your driver will get mounted to the thing, and then basically, this is going to, in theory, help break up some back waves or just kind of help with the sound of what's going on in the door. And then you would use one of our strips here. So these strips are really nice. So again, closed cell acoustic foam. They're nice and thick. They're about an inch thick. And what you would do is we'll just use our rapid tube here. So pretend that's a speaker. Oops. After you mount the speaker, then this would adhere to the mounting ring on the speaker, right? And then with that, while it's sitting on there, this is going to compress super easily. So the idea is that when you put the door panel back on, this is going to couple to the door panel so that it's going to help any kind of vibration around the grill, and then also help force that sound inside your vehicle. So these are really nice. So they're nice and long. You can go around a 6x9. Oops. You can go around a 6x9 or an 8-inch driver. And if you need to cut them shorter, it's no problem. We give you 6 strips in the box. So in theory, it'd be like, say you had a component set up front and maybe a set of coaxials in the back, or a 3-way set up front, whatever you wanted to do. So you have a lot of material that comes in the box. And this is kind of a great, kind of a finisher product. After you talk to your client and you get them all set up on all the sound treatment and all that good stuff, this would be kind of the finale. And that's why it's kind of funny, but that's why I put a lot of effort into this packaging, because I feel like this is something that the client would see. So it's kind of a jewelry box, because a lot of the other stuff, especially if you do massive or, bulk kits and stuff like that, though, the client really doesn't see that. They just kind of see what you have on your wall type of thing. But contour is something that you can show them. And, it looks great if you go on our Instagram, or if you kind of, go through the web and you see different guys installing stuff, you're going to always see, a lot of shops use contour, and I think it's a great product. And again, it's a great, easy way to couple to the door and just get a little bit extra out of it, and it just kind of finishes off everything really nice. So now you have your foundational product, you got a premium product, you have something to clean up all the gaps if there's any gaps, help you hold on wire harnesses, help fight other noises, and then you have something that helps couple, just the finale and a couple the speaker to the door panel. And all we're trying to do is keep all that audio in and keep all that noise out, So that's kind of the, foundation of Soundshield, right?
I'd like to take this opportunity and thank my guest, John Schwartz, for joining us today on today's Connected. Now, if you want to find out more information on all the great products we talked about on today's show, make sure you head on over to the official website found at soundshieldUSA.com. Now, my takeaway is simple. Sound dampening or sound control, or however you want to call it, this is not a new category. But what John and his team have managed to do is really take the feedback from installers. John himself has been in the business for so long, and he's built a really great reputation and network on taking the feedback from the shop and translating it into products that make sense. Now, some of the products can be customer forward facing, like as you saw with the contour, but a lot of it has to do with making your job easier and making the results better. So whether it's the new base or the SSD, maybe the massive roll, or even the contour strips, at the end of the day, sound dampening, sound control is and should be a part of the curriculum each and every time a vehicle comes into the bay. Stop looking at it like as if it's an add-on, but more as a necessity, because your job is to make sure you get the equipment in the customer's vehicle, but your job is also responsibility that equipment performs. And how can you do that if you don't control the environment this equipment is being installed in? That's it for this CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Until next time, we connect.